Okay, so yesterday we had just paused at that whole section where he describes how every single unit of existence is orderly with its own uniqueness, all except human beings. So what is wrong with us? So he left at that question, what's our problem? Uh, so from the material order to the plant order to the animal order, everything, every single unit is in order and it has its own uniqueness. But we need to be orderly. And we reached this point because he said that order is a fact of existence. This is not some imagination of human beings, that this concept of systems and orders. This is a fact of existence. And to establish that point, he had shown how actually every single thing is orderly, is definite and reliable.
ये देख लीजिए आप, हम कितने अच्छे ढंग से जी आए हैं, आप भी सोच लीजिए। ये तो बात यहाँ समझ में आता है, हम अभी तक व्यवस्था नहीं पाए हैं, व्यवस्था पाना की जरूरत है।
So this much we can understand till here, that we haven't as yet achieved orderliness. We need to achieve orderliness.
ये दो मुद्दे पर आते हैं।
We reach these 2 points, that we haven't attained order yet and we need order.
व्यवस्था पाने के लिए क्या करना पड़ेगा आपको? तो अपने त्वा सहित व्यवस्था में ही जीना होगा।
And in order to attain orderliness, what will we have to do? Then we will have to be orderly with our own uniqueness. That is how we will have to live.
मानवत्व क्या होता है भाई? पूछा।
But then what is this? So humanness. So this uniqueness, in that the unique part is the ness of each thing. So in mangoes, the unique part of mangoes is the mango-ness. So for humans, the uniqueness of humans is humanness. So he says, but then we ask, what is this humanness after all?
मानवता पूर्णाचरण।
That is humane behavior, humane conduct. So humane conduct is humanness.
पहली बात।
That's the first point.
मानवता पूर्ण आचरण के बारे में पहले भी एक बार जिक्र कर चुके हैं, पुनः और एक बार हो जाए तो।
And regarding humane conduct, we've already mentioned it once, and we can mention it once again.
मानव का आचरण मूल्य चरित्र नैतिकता का संयुक्त स्वरूप है।
The conduct of the human being is a composite of values, character, and ethics. Ethics is nothing but living with policy. So humanness is humane conduct, and humane conduct is a composite of human values, human character, and human ethics.
मूल्य का स्वरूप यही है, संबंध मूल्य मूल्यांकन उभय तृप्ति, ये इसका प्रमाण है।
Now the values are nothing but relationships, values, evaluation, and mutual fulfillment. That is the evidence of living with human values, that you will do this process of justice, which is identification of the relationship, living out the inherent values, doing mutual evaluation, and then having mutual fulfillment. So that is the first part of human conduct, values.
संबंध मूल्य मूल्यांकन उभय तृप्ति, ये इसका प्रमाण है, जो परिवार में स्वतः होना ही है। ये नहीं होगा तो कोई परिवार नहीं है।
So the relationship, values, evaluation, and fulfillment is the evidence of living with human values, which is natural, which will happen on its own in the human family. If this does not happen in the human family, then no human family can really remain.
चाहे जितने भी अपन कूट लें, पीस लें, पैर पटक लें, कोई मतलब नहीं, कितने भी कर लें इतने ही। तो उभय
no matter how much we bang our heads against the wall, no matter what we may try or do, if we don't live out relationship values, evaluation and fulfillment in families, then no family can really remain, can persist. That is all that will happen.
तृप्ति होने की स्थिति में ही परिवार है.
It is only in the state of fulfillment that a family exists.
उसके कम में कोई परिवार होता नहीं. इससे ज्यादा की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती.
There is no family in less than that much, and there is no need for any more than that. So, family is all about fulfillment. If there is no fulfillment, then there is no family. And if there is more than fulfillment, there is no need for anything more than fulfillment. So, there's no state more than that.
क्या अद्भुत लीला है. तो इससे ज्यादा की जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. क्या अद्भुत लीला है. तो ये घटित होने के लिए मानव स्वयं स्फूर्त जिम्मेवार है.
I didn't get that term. क्या गुत लीला है?
Yeah, he's saying क्या
गुत लीला, भूत लीला.
Oh, I understood it. I thought good.
See if you understand it again. I'll play it again.
तो ये घटित होने के लिए मानव स्वयं स्फूर्त जिम्मेवार है. इसमें लदाओ फसाओ. क्या अद्भुत लीला है. तो ये घटित होने के लिए
क्या अद्भुत लीला है. Okay. So yeah, he's saying कि
I got it first, and then suddenly he said good. I got confused. Adbhut.
Okay. So he says, so family is only with fulfillment. If there is no fulfillment, there is no family, and there can be nothing more than fulfillment. And what a wonderful Leela. What is Leela? Like a story or
like a play or a dramatization, no, like a pantomime or whatever.
Yeah. So what a wondrous play it is, in the sense that this is what happens in the world. If you look at what plays out in existence, then you can call that a leela, a play or a drama. So what a wondrous play this is. That this is all it can be. This is all a family can be. Family can only be fulfillment.
जरूरत नहीं पड़ती. क्या अद्भुत लीला है. तो ये घटित होने के लिए मानव स्वयं स्फूर्त जिम्मेवार है.
And in order to have this arise, humans themselves are responsible.
इसमें लदाओ फसाओ, अर्जाओ, घटाओ, कटाओ, ये कोई चीज लगता नहीं है. स्वयं स्फूर्त विधि से ये आदमी संबंधों को पहचानेगा, मूल्यों को निर्वाह करेगा, मूल्यांकन करेगा.
In this, humans are themselves responsible because no amount of compulsion, pressures, convincing or any such outside motivators can work. Whenever humans recognize relationship, they have to do it spontaneously of their own volition. They will recognize relationships of their own volition. They will live out the inherent values of their own volition. They will have to evaluate of their own volition, and they will then be mutually fulfilled.
वह तृप्ति पाकर उत्सवित होगा.
And feel joyful upon achieving that mutual fulfillment.
यही विधि बनी हुई है, जिसको मैं स्वयं जी के देखा है. ये मुख्य बात है.
This is the way that is established for humans. This is the way that in existence for humans. And this I have myself traversed and benefited from, or have
जिसको मैं स्वयं
Lived out and
देखा है.
seen, no?
ये मुख्य बात है.
huh?
He's lived out and seen this for himself.
Yeah, that I have lived out for this is the way that exists for humans, which I have myself lived out and seen for myself.
बनी हुई है जिसको मैं
saying that-
स्वयं
So is he saying that like people who live together without that harmony, they are not, you wouldn't call that a family, or that they won't last as a family? Like he's actually saying that that doesn't even count as a family, right? Or is that what he's saying? Or I don't understand.
Yeah, both, I think. Because really, if we try to say that a group of people living together are a family, how would we distinguish between any random group of people living together out of different compulsions from a family? When we think of if we want to ever define the word family, unless we do it biologically, we would have to think about a certain familial feeling where one feels a sense of apnapan, belongingness, right? So that feeling of belongingness is what is definitive of a family. Otherwise, you're just like a group of people living under the same roof. But that sense of belongingness can only exist if there is a sense of mutual fulfillment in our relationships with one another. And so if there is no justice in the relationships, there will be no mutual fulfillment in our relationships. If there is no mutual fulfillment in our relationships, there will be no sense of belongingness that we feel to that group, to that unit. And if we don't feel that sense of belongingness, then there's nothing really keeping us there long term. So it's bound to break apart anyway. So it's not being a family occurs first in our internal feeling for it. And then because that feeling exists internally in the members, therefore, even externally, the physical unit of the family also breaks apart as the circumstances provide. Otherwise, you can always be fragmented while living under the same roof. We already see that. But it's difficult to really call that a family, actually.
Yeah. Thanks.
जी के देखा है, ये मुख्य बात है। व्यवस्था में जीने से एक अद्भुत बात, ये तो चरित्र रहेगी ही, ठीक है ना। इसी के साथ और मूल्य की बात आती है। मूल्य जो है जो संबंध मूल्यांकन के रूप में पहचाना गया, चरित्र को स्वधन, स्वनारी, स्वपुरुष, दयापूर्ण कार्य के रूप में पहचाना गया।
So this is a major point. This was about values, and values are is justice, and justice is natural in a family. So this was the major point which he has already lived out and seen for himself. Then after that, in humane conduct comes character. Now, character in humane conduct is Swadhan, Swanari, Swapurush, Dayapun, Karya Vyavahar, which is rightful wealth. I mean, I think I don't want to take liberties. If I were to literally translate it, Swadhan means my own wealth. Swanari, Swapurush means my own spouse. So own wife, own husband. And Dayapun Karya Vyavahar means kind work and behavior. So humane character is a character which embodies like a person who lives with their own rightful wealth, their own rightful spouse, and is kind in all their work and behavior. That is the character of a humane individual.
जो संबंध मूल्यांकन के रूप में पहचाना गया, चरित्र को स्वधन, स्वनारी, स्वपुरुष, दयापूर्ण कार्य के रूप में पहचाना गया है।
So humane values were recognized as relationship values, evaluation, fulfillment, and humane character is recognized as this own wealth, own spouse, and kind work and behavior.
इसको भी आचरित करके देखा गया, इसमें समाधान बनता है, और नैतिकता को भी आचरित करके देखा गया, अपने तन मन धन रूपी अर्थ को सदुपयोग सुरक्षा करके देखा गया।
So this also was tested out in conduct. Acharit karke means to conductify. So this character was also conductified and tested out, and that resulted in just resolution and nothing but resolution. And then ethics also was conductified and tested out, which was dedicating one's body, wealth, and mind, one's resources that are in the form of our bodies, our wealth, and our minds, towards, tan man dhan rupi arth ka sadupyog and suraksha. So ethics is the right utilization and conservation of our resources, which are our body, our wealth, and our mind. So we have these three types of resources. Our body is our resource, our wealth is our resource. Wealth can be any physical bounty. And our mind is also our resource. So putting these three resources that we have to right use and also working towards protecting these three resources, that itself is human ethics. So that this sort of ethics was also lived out in his conduct and tested out.
इसमें समाधान बनता है और नैतिकता को भी आचरित करके देखा गया, अपने तन मन धन रूपी अर्थ को सदुपयोग सुरक्षा करके देखा गया। इससे भी अभयता बनती है, बहुत अच्छे ढंग से मनुष्य आश्वस्तता पूर्वक जी सकता है।
And that also results in fearlessness, and through this humans can live in a very good way in this manner.
ये बात देखा गया।
This has been seen. This has been tested out.
ये मानवता पूर्ण आचरण है।
So this is humane conduct.
उसके बाद आता है मानव का परिभाषा। मानव अपने परिभाषा की।
So after that comes the definition of the human being. What were we talking about? We were talking about order. In order, we know that being orderly is being orderly with one's uniqueness. And what is human uniqueness? Human uniqueness is humanness. So in order to understand humanness, we are going through this. Humanness is humane conduct. Humane conduct is composed of human values, human character, and human ethics. And now he's saying, let's talk about the definition of human being.
के रूप में मनाकार को साकार करने वाला है। मन में जो कुछ भी आ के रूप में मन भाषा। मानव अपने परिभाषा के रूप में मनाकार को साकार करने वाला है।
In the definition of human beings are those who materialize their mental forms.
मन में जो कुछ भी आ गई, आकार, घर बनाना है, उसको साकार करने वाला है, यंत्र बनाना है, उसको साकार करना।
All the forms that may emerge in our minds, whatever it may be, like I must build a house, that is materialized. Then I must build a tool, then we materialize that as well.
करने वाला है और कुछ करना है, साकार करने वाला है, ये सब मनाकार को साकार करने वाला।
Or if there's anything else to be done, then we materialize that. All of this is what is meant by materializer of mental forms. So funny, we were just talking about this.
मनस्वस्थता का आशावादी है, मने सुखी होने की आशावादी है।
And is hopeful of mental well-being. What that means is that he's hopeful of being happy. Hopes to become happy.
क्योंकि मानव धर्म ही सुख है, आशावादी रहवे करेगा।
Because the human dharma itself, the human ordering principle itself is happiness. So naturally they will hope for it, right?
उसको कहाँ से अपन काट पीट करके अलग करेंगे?
How will we be able to cut that out and separate it from humans? This hope for happiness. That is what defines humans.
तो मानव अपने में मनस्वस्थता का आशावादी है।
So humans in themselves are hopeful of mental well-being.
अर्थात सुख की आशा में ही रहता है।
That is, he remains in the hope of happiness.
इस ढंग से मनस्वस्थता का आशावादी हुआ।
in this way, human beings are hopeful of mental well-being.
इस ढंग से मूल्य चरित्र नैतिकता का स्वरूप अपने को समझ में आता है.
In this way, we can understand the form of values, character, and ethics.
ठीक है. इन परिभाषा के अनुसार मनुष्य जो है, जहां तक मनाकार को साकार करने की बात है, उसको आदमी पा गया है.
And according to this definition, the humans have already achieved the part of materializer of forms. That much has already been achieved.
मनाकार को साकार करने का काम दो कक्ष में होता है, दो विधा में होता है. एक महत्वाकांक्षा विधा में होता है, एक सामान्य आकांक्षा विधा में होता है.
The work of materializing our mental forms happens in two ways. The first way is for our basic necessities, and the other way is for our what is the word? I've forgotten the word I used for Mahatvakanksha. More higher necessities. Let's call it that now.
तो सामान्य आकांक्षा विधा में आहार, आवास, अलंकार संबंधी वस्तु और उपकरणों को बनाने की बात आती है.
In the basic necessity way, it is all about building our the things around our food, our shelter, and our clothing.
वो कर लिया है. और महत्वाकांक्षा संबंधी बात को भी पूरा कर लिया है. दूर श्रवण, दूरगमन, दूरदर्शन संबंधी वस्तु और उपकरण होता है.
And that we have already completed. And we've also completed the building of everything by way which falls under higher necessities. That is telecommunication and teleportation, transportation equipment, and its associated infrastructure. So basic necessities are food, shelter, and clothing, and higher necessities are telecommunication and transportation. And we've achieved both of these. We've built the infrastructure and equipment and prepared the necessary things for both of these.
उसको भी पूरा कर लिया, और भी यदि बचा कुचा होगा तो वो भी पूरा कर लेगा.
And if there is any little bit of that which is left over, we'll fulfill that as well quite easily.
ये तो बात समझ में आता है.
This is
जहां
something
तक
that can be understood.
आचरण की बात है, वो माइनस है, वो नहीं मिलता है. जहां तक आचरण की बात है, वो माइनस है, वो नहीं मिलता है. कहाँ नहीं मिलता है? ना तो शिक्षा में मिलता है, ना तो संविधान में मिलता है. संविधान.
But as far as conduct is concerned, that is in minus. That we don't find. Where don't we find it? Neither do we find it in our educational systems.
नहीं मिलता है, ना तो शिक्षा में मिलता है, ना तो संविधान में मिलता है.
Nor in our
संविधान में
constitution.
मानवतापूर्ण आचरण को अभी तक मूल्यांकन करने की कोई व्यवस्था नहीं हो पाया है. किसी संविधान में नहीं हुआ है.
So neither do we find conduct in our education system, nor do we find it mentioned in the Constitution. The Constitution has not been able to outline humane conduct up till now. No Constitution has been able to do that.
कोई संविधान में नहीं.
Humane conduct doesn't exist in any Constitution.
तो शक्ति केंद्रित कोई संविधान में मानवतापूर्ण आचरण को प्रमाणित करने का प्रावधान होते ही नहीं.
No power-centric constitution can have the provision for evidencing a humane conduct. It is not possible.
क्योंकि मानव संविधान है ही नहीं है शक्ति केंद्रित शासन. उस विधि से वो होना ही नहीं है, चाहे कुछ भी कर ले.
Because power-centric rule is isn't a humane constitution to begin with. So no matter what it might try, it cannot include humane conduct within it.
तो इस ढंग से हम मानवतापूर्ण आचरण को मूल्यांकित करने का कोई साहस जुटा नहीं पाए, ऐसे समझदारी को जोड़ नहीं पाए, ऐसे समझदारी से संपर्क होना संभव नहीं हुआ.
So in this way, we have not been able to gather the courage to identify humane conduct. We have not been able to gather the understanding to identify humane conduct. And we have not been able to saturate ourselves with such an understanding of humane conduct.
यही इतिहास की जो कड़ी में जुड़ी हुई कमियां हैं.
This itself, these are the lacunae that are present in the chain of history.
इन कमी को पूरा करने के बाद ही मानव इस धरती पर स्वस्थ रूप में जी पाएगा.
It is only after filling these gaps that human beings will be able to live on this planet in a healthy way.
तब तक तो यही रहेगा, झगड़ा झांसा, उसको मारो काटो और उस पर चढ़ाई करो, उसको उस देश को मिटाओ, इस देश को.
Until then, this very thing that will remain. Our conflicts, our fights, kill him, destroy the other, destroy that country.
को मिटाओ, इस प्रकार के काम करते हैं.
Erase the other group from the face of the earth. And this is the kind of things we do end up doing.
इस पचड़े से छूटने के लिए समझदारी ही एकमात्र उपाय है.
If we want to free ourselves from this swamp, then understanding is the only option, the only solution available.
ये उपाय को अपनाना चाहिए, ऐसा मेरा सोचना.
And this solution is something we should adopt. This is how I think.
वो उपाय को अपनाने के लिए हम शिक्षा का मानवीकरण करना एक बहुत आवश्यक तत्व उसमें.
And in order to adopt this solution, the humanization of education is a very key element.
क्या तत्वों को हम प्रवेश कराएंगे? विज्ञान.
And in the humanization of education, what are the elements that we will introduce? That we will include the conscious aspect in science.
जो पढ़ाते हैं उसके साथ चैतन्य प्रकृति का अध्ययन समावेश करेंगे.
So in the science that we teach, in that we will include a study of the conscious nature.
मनोविज्ञान में संस्कार पक्ष का समावेश करेंगे.
In psychology, we will include the sanskar aspect, or roughly inculturation aspect.
और दर्शन शास्त्र में क्रिया पक्ष का, प्रमाण पक्ष का समावेश करेंगे.
In philosophical literature, we will include the activity aspect or the evidence aspect.
ठीक है. भूगोल में मानव और मानवीयता का समावेश करेंगे.
All right. In geography, we will include the human and humanity, humanness.
इतिहास में मानवीय व्यवस्था को समावेश करेंगे.
In history, we will include humane order, humane systems. So these are the perspectives that will be added to all of these subjects that are studied and taught in our education systems already.
ठीक है. तो इस ढंग से शिक्षा के तमाम भागों में हम मानवीयता को अपने जो पाठ्यक्रम में और पाठ्यपुस्तिका में लाकर पढ़ाने की व्यवस्था करेंगे.
So in this way, we will try to include humaneness, humanity in all the various aspects of study, in the various syllabi and the books of different subjects of study in our education system.
इससे मनुष्य को अपने आप से जो व्यवस्था में जीने की प्रवृत्ति और अपने को प्रमाणित करने की प्रवृत्ति, अपना पहचान के साथ समाधान, समृद्धि, अभय, सहअस्तित्व में जीने की एक अवसर, एक आवश्यकता, एक सफलता के जगह में हम पहुंच सकते हैं.
And through this, we can reach a place of opportunity, a need and success for human beings to live with, what was it? With evidence and
और अपने मनुष्य को अपने आप से जो व्यवस्था में जीने की
so this on its own provides an opportunity, the need and the success, way to success for human beings to be able to live in order and for human beings to be able to evidence themselves.
प्रवृत्ति और अपने को प्रमाणित करने की प्रवृत्ति, अपना पहचान के साथ
So this tendency to live in order, this tendency to evidence oneself, and the opportunity, the need and the success, possibility of success for establishing our identity as someone who is resolved, someone who is prosperous, fearless and living in coexistence. So these are the 4 ways in which we want to establish our identities. That means we want to be, when we say we want to be evidenced, we want to establish our identities as someone who is resolved, then someone who is prosperous, someone who is fearless, and then someone who is coexistential. And education, this sort of humanization of education is the way to get to that.
समाधान, समृद्धि, अभय, सहअस्तित्व में जीने की एक अवसर, एक आवश्यकता, एक सफलता के जगह में हम पहुंच सकते हैं. इसीलिए शिक्षा का मानवीकरण की आवश्यकता है.
And that is why there is a need for the humanization of education.
शिक्षा का मानवीकरण होने के बाद ही मानवीय शिक्षा का मतलब पूरा होता है.
It is only after the humanization of education that we are able to achieve humane education.
मानवीय शिक्षा होता है, समझदारी आता ही है. इसीलिए शिक्षा संस्कार मानवीयता के साथ ही परिपूर्ण होता है.
And when there is humane education, then necessarily we find that understanding does emerge. And
इसीलिए शिक्षा संस्कार मानवीयता के साथ ही परिपूर्ण होता है.
And that is why education and enculturation is completed only when humanity, humaneness is reached.
दूसरा विधि से परिपूर्ण होता नहीं.
In no other way can we complete education.
अभी भी हम संस्कार की बात करते हैं, किंतु पूरा कहाँ होता है, संस्कार के रूप में होता कहाँ है.
Even today we talk about things like culture and sanskar, but where does it exist? Where does culture and enculturation and sanskar ever really get completed?
वो तो हमारे मान्यताओं के ऊपर आता है, वो कोई सार्वभौमता उसमें से निकलता नहीं.
All that it reaches is our belief system, and there is no sort of universality that comes out of it.
इस ढंग से इसकी स्थितियां.
So this is the state of things in this way.
उसके बाद
why he's saying we should be expecting universality from sanskar is because when the word sanskar has been used traditionally, it's usually referred to the good qualities that are present in any individual of a culture that they imbibe and learn from their culture. So we say, oh, it has been refined. Actually, sanskar has to do with some sort of refinement. And yeah, actually, that's a good word for sanskar. So he's saying we still talk about sanskar or refinement of an individual, but really, is there any refinement that is achieved? There isn't, because all we really gain from living in society and the name of refined thoughts and behaviors are just belief systems, and no belief system reach any sort of universality. So are they really refined, is what he's saying.
तीसरा बिंदु है सत्य.
Now, the third point is truth. Third in which sequence? We were talking about the three perspectives of the three humane perspectives. The first one is justice. Then justice is relationships, values, evaluation, and fulfillment in interpersonal relationships. Then there is order. That's point number 2. Order is living in orderliness with one's own uniqueness and participating in the larger order. That is the second point of order. And then the third point is truth. That's what we are arriving at now.
और सत्य समझ में आने के बाद व्यवस्था जो है सार्वभौम होना स्वाभाविक.
After understanding truth, then it's very natural. It is very natural for the system to become universal.
सत्य क्या समझ में आना? अस्तित्व समझ में. अस्तित्व ही सहास्तित्व के रूप में समझ में आना ही.
What is this understanding of truth? That is the understanding that understanding existence is truth. That is understanding that existence is coexistence. That is the truth.
सत्य समझ में आना है. वो कोई बाघ भालू कुछ नहीं होता है और साधारण बात है.
And understanding this is no great tiger or bear, something to be afraid of. It's a very straightforward thing that
अस्तित्व को चारावस्था में अध्ययन किया जाता है. अस्तित्व को स्वयं में सत्ता में संपर्क प्रकृति के रूप में ही अध्ययन किया जाता है.
That existence can be studied in the form of 4 orders, and existence can be understood and studied as nature saturated in space, nature saturated in omnipotence.
ये चीज हर बच्चों को बड़ों को समझ में आता है.
This is something that all children and all adults are capable of understanding.
तो इन प्रकृति के साथ हमारा पूरकता, प्रकृति हमारे मानव के साथ पूरकता की बात का अध्ययन.
And then our complementarity with nature. So, what did you say?
पूरकता, प्रकृति हमारे मानव के साथ पूरकता की बात का अध्ययन. इन्हीं पूरकता विधि से हम जीने की कला को विकसित करने पर
nature, so we study the complementariness of nature with human beings.
इन्हीं पूरकता विधि से हम जीने की कला को विकसित करने पर और मानवीय व्यवस्था ही होता है और दूसरा कुछ होता ही नहीं है.
And through the study of complementarity, we develop nothing but the way of living in a humane system. Nothing else can be developed from a study of complementariness in nature. The study of we study existence as 4 orders. We study existence as nature saturated in omnipotence, and we study the fact that nature is complementary to humans. And in the study of complementarity, all that can result as an outcome is our ability to live in a humane system. Because what else will you do once you've studied complementarity? You will be complementary, and that itself is a humane system.
केवल करना क्या है? हम समझ भर लेना है और कुछ नहीं है. और कुछ होता ही नहीं है. विकसित करने पर और मानवीय व्यवस्था ही होता है और दूसरा कुछ होता ही नहीं है. केवल करना क्या है? हम समझ भर लेना है और कुछ नहीं है.
So only human order, it is only human order that can be achieved through this study, nothing else. What is it that we have to do? All that we have to do is understand, nothing else.
उसके ऊपर ये सब अपने आप से बाढ़ लगती है.
After that, all of these are a flood that emerges on its own.
हम जब कभी सोचेंगे व्यवस्था ही सोचेंगे, न्याय में ही जिएंगे, व्यवहार में ही जिएंगे और परिवार में ही जिएंगे, प्रामाणिकता को ही प्रमाणित करेंगे।
So after understanding, whenever we think of anything, we will only think of orderliness. Whenever we live, we will only live in justice. Whenever we what?
व्यवहार में ही जिएंगे और परिवार में ही जिएंगे,
And only live in the family.
प्रामाणिकता को ही प्रमाणित करेंगे और कुछ करवे नहीं करेंगे, उस स्थिति में पहुंचते।
We will only evidence authenticity. We will not be able to do anything else. That is the state that we want to reach.
इस ढंग से हम ऐसे गम्य स्थली में पहुंचते हैं जिससे हम एक ऐसी आश्वस्त, विश्वस्त और समृद्ध होने की जगह में पहुंचते हैं। ये
So in this way, we reach such a destination where we can feel this sense of being reassured and confident in our living.
आश्वस्त, विश्वस्त और समृद्ध होने की जगह
And reassured, confident, and prosperous. That is the state that we arrive at.
में पहुंचते हैं। ये मुख्य मुद्दा की बात है।
And this is the major point.
ऐसे हम जैसा ही हम अस्तित्व को समझते हैं, अस्तित्व को व्यवस्था के रूप में समझते हैं, हमारे में ये स्वाभाविक रूप में अंत प्रेरणा होना स्वाभाविक है कि
So as soon as we understand existence as order, and as soon as we understand existence in the form of orderliness,
अस्तित्व को समझते हैं, अस्तित्व को व्यवस्था के रूप में
as soon as we understand existence, as soon as we understand existence as a form of order, then naturally, spontaneously, this internal inspiration arises within us.
समझते हैं, हमारे में ये स्वाभाविक रूप में अंत प्रेरणा होना स्वाभाविक है कि हम भी व्यवस्था में जिएंगे।
That we will also live in order.
क्योंकि अभी ये देखा गया है, जो कुछ भी है अव्यवस्था है, अनिश्चित है, ये कह करके विज्ञान पढ़ाते हैं। इन पढ़ाने के फलस्वरूप हर विद्यार्थी, जो प्रतिभाशाली विद्यार्थी, अपने में अपने को एक अव्यवस्था होना स्वीकार ही लेते हैं।
Because it has been seen already that today they teach that existence in itself is uncertain, it is indefinite. And upon studying this, every student, every talented student begins to see themselves as uncertain and indefinite.
प्रतिभाशाली विद्यार्थी अपने में अपने को एक अव्यवस्था होना स्वीकार ही लेते हैं।
Begins to see themselves as a disorder.
और उसके बाद अव्यवस्था को पैदा करने में भागीदारी करते ही हैं।
And then they end up most definitely also participating in creating more disorder. So when you are taught that existence is disorder or disorderly, that is, it is uncertain and indefinite, then the student who is taught this also imbibes this and begins to see themselves as disorderly and therefore participates in making the world more disorderly.
दूसरा कुछ करते ही नहीं।
That is what they do. They end up in participating in creating disorder, not in, they don't do any other activity then.
ऐसा इसका उदाहरण जो जीता जागता हुआ अमिताभ उदाहरण, ये पूरा ये धरती।
An example of this, living example of this fact is this planet.
धरती में अभी हम अपने इसमें विज्ञानियों ने ये बताते जा रहे हैं, धरती में ताप बढ़ रहा है।
So this planet of ours, as our scientists continue to tell us, is increasing in its temperature. Our planet is warming.
ताप बढ़ने का मूल तत्व क्या है? उसके ऊपर जाएं तो पता लगता है केवल कोयला को निकालने से और पेट्रोलियम पदार्थ को निकालने से धरती में ताप बढ़ गई।
And if we look at the basic element behind this increase in global temperature, then they say that it is only due to this extraction of coal and the burning of petroleum products that the temperature of our planet has risen.
इतनी ही बात हुई। कैसे ये बढ़ गई, क्यों बढ़ गई वाला बात वो भी जानते हैं, हम भी जानते हैं।
It's as simple as that. So how did this temperature rise? Why did the temperature rise? This is known to them as well as to us.
कैसे, ये कोयले ही एक ऐसा वस्तु है, पेट्रोलियम पदार्थ ही ऐसा वस्तु है जो कि ताप को अपने में हजम करता है।
Why? Because it is only coal that is this kind of object, or petroleum, which is this kind of object that digests heat within itself.
धरती में ताप को हजम करने का ताकत कोयला और पेट्रोलियम पदार्थ के साथ जुड़ी हुई है।
This power to digest heat is only present in coal and petroleum on this planet.
तो हम क्या करते हैं, इस पदार्थ को ही निकाल देते हैं और धरती में ताप बढ़ना बनता ही है।
So, and what do? We extract this very material, and so naturally the temperature of the earth rises. Are you getting this? This is a very new way of looking at it, actually. I mean, the way he described it, I haven't heard it put this way, quite this way anywhere else. He's saying petroleum and coal are the materials on this planet that digest heat. So when they're under the earth's surface, they're digesting the excess heat coming from the sun, and also digesting the excess heat coming from the core of the planet, so that the surface remains in a moderate, pleasant temperature for life to thrive. That is what it's doing. It's digesting the heat.
My question was, I mean, is it a proven fact by others, or just he and some people believe it's a point of view, or is it the scientists of the world? I've never heard anyone talking of climate change because of this.
No, you haven't heard of climate change being because of coal and petroleum?
I've not heard. Petroleum, okay, but that coal and petroleum absorb the heat in that way.
Yeah, that's what. So
Yeah,
absorbing the heat means that it's now digested. It is contained within it. It's not going to be transferred anywhere.
So, but our scientists or whoever, environmentalists or whoever talk about this, are they saying this also?
Yeah, of course. That's why fossil fuels are such an evil, recognized evil, right? We want to stop. What
more
are fossil
pollution,
fuels?
more that they take out, then it goes into pollution, and more in that sense.
So what?
Not that from the absorbing of the heat point of view, have they agreed to it, or have they also accept that?
That's what I'm not sure how, till what extent they see it, but he'll talk about the other also. He explains this further. See, what is recognized definitely very widely now is that the burning of fossil fuels are nothing but coal and oil, petroleum.
That burning of that I know.
It results in that carbon dioxide collecting in the atmosphere. Earlier, that same carbon was on the Earth's surface, I mean, under the Earth's surface. So when it was under the Earth's surface, it was holding on to heat there. Now it's on top of our atmosphere. Now it's holding on to heat here. We don't want heat to be held on to over here. We want heat to be held on to over here. So that the blanket of carbon dioxide gas is something which is widely talked about. But the fact that its role originally in the surface of the Earth was also to digest heat, that is not something that I think is widely known or recognized. I don't know if some scientists do talk about it.
I've listened to so much of this, but this is a very interesting version. You know?
It's very interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
Because he's saying there's a role.
Also.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, because otherwise people think there's no role for petroleum or coal where it's lying. It just happens to be there. And we can use it, we can consume it like we consume any other resource. He's saying, no, it has a role to play in that place where it is. It's playing a role in that subterranean layer of the earth. and that role is to digest heat. So when we take it out, then the surface has nothing to protect itself from heat moderation. And on top of that, we've gone and put it in our atmosphere. I think he'll just talk about it. Either just here, he's written about it in the materialism book.
ताप पड़ने से क्या विपरीत परेशानी पैदा हुई, तो समुद्र की पानी का सतह बढ़ने लगे.
Okay, so he doesn't go further into it here. So he says, so what is the issue that arises from the temperature of the earth rising? What happens is that the sea levels begin to rise.
पानी का सतह बढ़ करके कई कितना बढ़ सकता है, तो हम जहाँ बैठे हैं वहाँ 200-300-400 फुट पानी हो सकता है.
And how far can sea levels rise? Then where we are sitting today, that can be covered under 200-400 feet of water.
और इन्हें गिने चोटियां बचते हैं पर्वत की, और कुछ बचते नहीं.
And only limited few peaks of mountains will remain above water. Nothing else would then remain above water.
सब अपने आप से सही है, काम सही है, हम सही काम किए ही हैं, इसीलिए सही काम हो गए परिणाम. ये इस ढंग से हम फंस गए. तो सब अपने आप से सही है.
Which in itself is fine. It is correct. The fact that if the temperature rises and the sea level will rise, and on the sea level rise, most of the surface, that is exposed surface of the earth, will then get submerged underwater, and only a limited few mountain peaks will remain. So all of this is fine. This is correct. This is correct in its own right.
काम सही है, हम सही काम किए ही हैं, इसीलिए सही काम हो गए परिणाम. ये इस
Huh? This. So yeah. What were you saying?
Zag was talking. It's okay.
Oh, okay. So yeah, he's saying so this is the way it will be, and we have done this work, and once we have done this, this is the consequence that's bound to emerge.
ढंग से हम फंस गए. तो इसको
And in this way, we have gotten stuck.
ठीक करने के लिए जो माने बड़े बड़े देश आवाहित करता है, सब मिल करके इसको ठीक करें.
And in order to fix this, all the big nations kind of give out calls to rectify the situation.
और शुरुआत किसने किया, ये इतिहास स्पष्ट किया है.
And who has initiated this is something that history has made very clear.
तो ये जो जब हम बिना समझे ईंधन व्यवस्था के लिए पेट्रोलियम पदार्थ कोयले को उपयोग किया, ये धरती के साथ हुई जांचती है और गलती है.
So this started when we, in our lack of understanding, we began to use petroleum and coal for our fuel systems on this planet. And that has been a major crime, a major affront against this planet. This our delusioned use of fossil fuels for our fuel systems, of use of coal and petroleum for our fuel uses needs.
इसका भरपाई हो पाएगा नहीं हो पाएगा, आगे कम से कम इसको रोकथाम होने की बात ही परीक्षण किया जा सकता.
And whether this can be amended or not can only be examined after we actually put a stop to it. So he's saying first we'll have to put a stop to it, and then only will we actually be able to see whether we have the capacity to amend this, to kind of fill back what we have taken out somehow.
ये रोकने के लिए ये अवश्य में वे प्रस्ताव है.
In order to stop this, in order to halt this, this is the proposal in order to be able to do that. So he's saying this proposal is also for us to be able to come together and halt our use of fossil fuels the way we have been
कैसा
using.
रोकेगा?
how to stop it?
उसके बारे में आगे चलेंगे.
How will this be stopped? That is something that we will discuss further. Okay, I think this is a good place to pause for today.
Stop and how to stop and
Yeah,
stop.
yeah. Anything on this section? This is a very different sort of section.
No. Okay.
Okay. Ashwa Didi?
Yeah, no, it is an interesting one to think about. I haven't heard it in that way before, and it makes a lot of sense also. But so I'm just letting it absorb
Yeah.
for now.
I'm just thinking now about, but I think there is talk of carbon sinks and things like that. I'll have to look it up about how much it's been recognized, the relevance of storing carbon in the soil. I mean, we know that even for our the fertility of our soil, we need to store carbon there, but this is like a much larger sink of carbon under the surface of the earth. So,
I think the other point also, which was quite interesting, was this the fact that actually, if we see existence as random, then we also start seeing ourselves as random, and therefore feel that we ourselves are not able to be understood. Just like existence isn't be able to be understood, and then that means that we accept, like, if we don't understand something about ourselves, or we don't know why we're doing certain things, we may not explore it to see that, okay, it is something that can be understood. We just we just believe or accept that actually it can't be understood, and it's out of our control because we can't understand it, and therefore we have no autonomy over it. And I think that's a very different position to,
Right.
and a very dissatisfying, unsatisfactory one, compared to the fact that it can be understood, and okay, I haven't understood it yet, but I need to understand it, and I want to understand it, and what do I need to do to understand it? I think that's a hugely different position, and I think it's interesting to the way he's put it also.
Yeah, that's a very important point. How our idea of existence, that means our ontology regarding the world, really also influences our everyday living, how we understand things, and how empowered we feel in affecting change in our own lives and in our own situation. Because if we think the world is orderly, existence is orderly, then everything can be understood. And once anything is understood, we can work with it as we wish. Whereas if we believe that existence is not orderly, it is random and uncertain, then if we haven't, as you're saying, if we haven't understood it, then it's okay, because things can't be understood. Not everything is understandable. And so it's out of our control. So whatever happens, happens. It's beyond us. And so then we just become passive receivers rather than active participants. That's a very important. Yeah. So it's an empowering perspective to think that existence is orderly. And therefore one of responsibility. This is the only way we can be responsible also. When we feel that we have power.
Yeah. Actually, it's kind of interesting also that the word use the word responsibility, because that word is very often, I mean, in all cultures, it's touted as kind of like you must be responsible and stuff. But you can't actually hold the two positions. Like, we aren't capable of being responsible in that sense because we are random and not understandable, and we have to be responsible. Like, those two don't even add up actually. So they obviously don't make sense.
Yeah. So this universal need and value that has been identified by people all over the world, every parent, every human being, every person living in any culture recognizes that being responsible is a good thing, would then have to acknowledge that in order for anyone to be responsible, one has to be empowered. If we have no power, then how can we expect responsibility? So that's actually quite interesting, that these two have to go hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's a good note to maybe end on for today. And let's meet next week.
Okay. Thank
Oh,
you.
thank
Okay.
you.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Good night.
Good night.
Good
Bye.
night. Bye.